Hi everyone, welcome back. This is one of the Chatty Mondays again. Today I have one of my very best physics friends, Caroline Jonas, whom I met when we were doing the masters. She came to Lausanne for a 1 year exchange, and that's where we met and became very, very fast friends and very, very good friends. So she's the first person that I have here on Chatty Monday because she's amazing. And we're going to talk all about her experience in academia and what she's been doing for the past few years. So I'm very, very happy to have her with me today. And we're
Thank you.
going
I'm
to
happy to be
start.
here too.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. Okay, let's start with the first question so that everyone can get to know you a bit better. Because, of course, I know you a bit, like quite a bit, but others might not. So, who are you and how did you get to where you are today?
So I'm Caroline. I'm Belgian. I grew up in Brussels, and as you said, I studied physics first year in Brussels, and then for my master, partly in Lausanne, and then back in Brussels. During my master, I specialized in theoretical physics because I was really super interested in how the universe works and stuff like that. So I pursued with a PhD in cosmology. So that's study of the very early universe. At least in my part, it was early universe cosmology. And I did that close to Berlin in Potsdam. So that was 4 years. It was super exciting to live abroad, get to really study about this super exciting and fascinating topic that is the very beginning of our universe. And so after my PhD, so I graduated 2 years ago, and then I came back to Belgium, where I studied a bit longer in that topic, but in the end, it didn't suit me that much anymore, so I decided to change. And now I'm studying the atmosphere, and in particular, I'm studying the ozone layer. So yeah, that's I'm still doing a postdoc, so but in a different field now.
That's one of the
So yeah.
reasons why I'm very happy to have you on the Chatty Monday because I think your experience is a very good example that you don't have to have just one path, even if it's in academia. You can
Mhm.
always change and do something else. And you did that, like that transition last year very beautifully. And I think it's
Thank
kind
you.
of inspiring.
Yeah, we'll see how long it goes, but at the moment I'm super happy with my job, so let's finger cross.
Yes. Crossing all the fingers and toes for you. Okay, let's go into the second question. What's one thing that you love about your research and one thing that you appreciate about your current position? So it
Mhm.
can be previous research, current
Yeah,
position, or either, as you wish.
I'll say that overall, I think it's always the same thing that I love in research is getting to understand things. Like there is a problem, there is something that that people don't understand, and you have to search and try to, like for instance, when I was doing cosmology, I was doing a lot of theoretical work, so we had equations we needed to understand, we had to solve them, we had to find clever ways to go around them because we couldn't solve them from like just going straight. And then now it's a bit the same. I have data that I need to analyze. I need to understand what's going on. What are the phenomena that influence ozone, and what is like all this puzzle that you start with a research question and then you have to put all the pieces together. And at the end, when you write the paper, you kind of have a better understanding. Of course, it's not a total understanding, but you really feel that you made a step forward in solving this little bit of what is unknown. So that's what I really enjoy. And what I like about my current position, I think, is mostly, at least for me, I didn't feel a strong change between PhD and postdoc, which was nice because I always felt like I could have my ideas and I still work a lot with colleagues, so that's cool. But I really love the environment I'm in at the moment. It's one of the reasons why I changed field because I wasn't feeling very well in the previous environment. And I really value that feeling comfortable, feeling appreciated, really feeling that your worth is valued, but also that you can have a friendly encounters at work. I think it's super important. And I think it makes me able to do good research.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm
yeah.
so happy that you found that now. that
Yeah.
you're feeling better. Okay. Yes, I think, but that's kind of the mark of a true researcher, like somebody who is very excited about the doing of the research, because that's, I think, one of the things in the end that I was lacking, and one of the reasons why I decided not to continue after the PhD, because to me, it was more interesting to learn about what other people had done and then teach it
Yeah.
than to do the research on my own.
I think I think that's something that I also like a lot. So I guess you need both.
Yeah.
But indeed, for instance, one of the other aspects why I wanted to change was that I started to be at a point in early universe cosmology where I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I learned a lot doing my PhD and postdoc, but I don't feel like there is much more in that direction that I want to contribute for. I feel like I really wanted to know everything that people knew about the universe. I
Hmm.
wanted to know how the Big Bang happened, what is exactly the current theories, because of course Big Bang is a very old theory and now there are many new ones. And I really wanted to know what is the truth in a sense. But of course, when you're a researcher, you know that there is not one truth. And I think that at some point I felt like, I start to lose this really urge to know, and
Hmm.
I'm just content with what I know. So maybe it means that I need to change direction and start looking in something else that I'm interested in. I think that's also okay. It doesn't mean that you're not a good researcher. It just means that your interest can change and it's totally fine. There are lots of people whose career is going from one subject to another, and you can do it smoothly or not. But I think it's totally normal that your interest is not for 30 years the same, I
I
guess.
agree. I agree. And I think the thing is a lot of people do it after maybe getting into a position that is more stable. Like, so after they've done postdocs and they have a professorship, then they explore a lot more
Yeah.
things. They get grants to have different
Yeah.
sides
And
to
when
their
you have, for
research.
instance, several
Yeah,
students working with you, you can
exactly.
send each on a different path, for
Yeah,
instance. And there are some professors they are doing so many
yeah,
different things. It's
yeah,
sometimes really crazy,
yeah,
like the broad range of interests they have.
yeah.
But I think that's what's really cool, and it shows that, yeah, science is mostly about being curious. You can be curious about many, many things.
Yeah. But I like that your path shows that you can do this earlier on and it can work. You just have to be determined to do it and passionate about the second topic, and you can get into things. I guess we'll talk a bit more also about probably how you did the transition in some of the like later questions as well. So let's continue. Question 3 is, what were your best and worst days as a researchers, and what did each of them teach you?
I think I'll start with the worst so that we go on the best
Yeah.
afterward, and it's nice. I think my worst days, I would characterize them, I would say it's like an ensemble of days where I was not confident. Of course, there's been the COVID, and this has affected us whole, and I've been through days where I was alone for a long period of time because I was doing home office. It was not easy, and sometimes when doing research, because you are searching and you are trying to find new ways, sometimes you don't find anything. And sometimes it can be really frustrating. You've been trying to do something for weeks, months, and you just realize, oh, it's not working. And
Mm.
I think that I'm getting better with that with time, but I started being someone that wasn't very confident, and my confidence is growing, especially with friends around me that help me also in that direction, and also with a lot of thinking. But in periods when I was not very confident, I would really get this fake link that because what I have been doing for the last weeks is not working, it means I'm a bad researcher and I can't do anything. And this link, of course, is completely wrong. But it's really hard if you're alone and you don't have someone to talk to about this. You really feel it on your own. And I think that the best advice and the best, like the one thing that I kept from this is when this happens, it's totally normal that it happens. Just talk. Talk with your peers. Talk if you have a nice advisor or a nice colleague that you trust, you can also talk to them. And often I was really afraid that talking about this would people would picture me as that one girl that's not confident and therefore she's not made for research because in research you have to be confident. And I'm really sure that's not true. I'm really sure that everyone has days like this. So I think it's really important that you feel able to open on these kind of things. At least if it's not your supervisor, that can be really intimidating, of course, but at least your peers. And often you realize that they actually share the same fears and
Yeah.
troubles.
To me, it's completely mind-blowing how isolated we can be in those feelings, even though most people in research
Yeah,
experience them at least sometime, and
yeah.
some people a lot of the time.
And if someone tells you they don't experience this, either run away, or just don't trust them because probably they're just trying to show off or hide their own insecurities by saying that they don't have any, something like that. But I wouldn't trust this kind of people generally.
I mean, I think in general, imposter syndrome is really, really common in academia. It's like the more you know, the more you realize all that you don't know, and
Yeah.
then it makes you doubt everything that you already know.
The ocean of ignorance is
Yes,
huge around
exactly.
us. Yeah. That was the worst day. And the best day, there are also several kinds of
Hmm.
like, but maybe they go all together. It's like excitement, I would say. I remember the first time that an equation that I had to solve, I found how to solve it. It was in third year bachelor. So we were working on a small project and I was struggling that like the professor had given me a really crazy project. I was supposed to read the first paper on string theory and understand it, which was a bit insane because I didn't know field theory. Well, okay, maybe this is jargon, but it was a bit too advanced, clearly.
Clearly,
But
for a third year bachelor, it was too advanced. I can confirm.
but then in the end, with the professor, we had decided to focus just on the first part because it was a bit more easy. It was like classical theory. So okay, I tried to understand the first part and I struggle. And I remember I was at my parents' place. I guess it was a weekend or something, and I suddenly I can solve that one equation that has been so frustrating for me for so long, and I burst with joy, and I'm like running around the whole house and going down and like being so excited, and I don't know, like this kind of feeling is really the best, and sometimes it's a bit not it doesn't happen that often, so you really have to cherish it. But at the same time, it's really good. And I mean, there is smaller versions of that in everyday research at the moment when I'm doing something and I have to work on a code to do this or that kind of analysis. And I'm struggling to know how, and then suddenly it works. Of course, now I'm not running in the whole institute, but I did that
I
back
mean, you
then. Like
could.
yeah, my first master when I was doing my master thesis, I remember also running in the corridor because I was so excited and about some results that I got. But so yeah, I really love that and sharing that excitement also with others, with friends, with colleagues. That's also so good.
Yeah, that's really cool. When you have that spark of inspiration or that thing where everything clicks, it really it does feel good.
Like
It does
I
feel
guess it's
very
like
good.
the eureka kind of moment that
Yeah.
you hear about, but yeah, it can also be some smaller things, and it's just the joy that I feel
Yeah.
when understanding something.
Yeah.
That's
For me, I think I get those moments these days. So in my work, when I'm preparing the workshops, one of the parts that I like best is once I've read a lot of information on the topic, then I put everything on a piece of paper with post-it notes and I move them around, etc. And I'm trying to get a structure down that makes sense. And then once the structure is there, I always look for some kind of analogy, some kind of image that is going to be the main image that I kind of follow through the workshop. And when that comes in, and I'm like, oh,
Oh, yes.
this is the right image. And I'm like so
Nice.
excited. And I want to
Mm.
share it with everyone then. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, you talking about workshop just made me think that I also really love communicating my science.
Yeah.
And these moments we have with peers or also with the general public, I love doing outreach. And whenever I do it, I'm always so excited. Like yesterday, I had this outreach with kids from primary school. And oh, it was
Oh,
so
that's so
nice. They
cool.
ask so cool questions. They ask so clever questions as well. And I really love that as well.
And sometimes things that you don't expect as well,
Yeah.
right? The
Oh
kids
my
are
God.
very
Yesterday I had a question like, who was the scientist who discovered the ozone hole problem? And I was like, oh, I don't know the name. Like, but they got
oops.
fixated about this. And for me, it's like, yeah, it's a guy, whatever.
Yeah, but you can't answer that to the kid. Okay, so let's now go to question 4, which is what's a secret you've discovered about succeeding in academia or outside that you wish more people understood?
Okay, so maybe it's gonna become redundant, but I think the secret is talk to your colleagues and share what you're experiencing and feeling like.
I mean, maybe to add to the secret is if you're in an environment where you don't feel comfortable doing
Oh
it,
yeah,
change your environment.
exactly, exactly. That goes with it, right? If you feel like people around you are not listening, are not communicating, there are red flags in relationships. I think there should also be red flags with mentors,
Agreed.
supervisors.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
definitely. And sometimes I mean, I know it can be so hard because sometimes it feels like getting a PhD is so difficult. And maybe once you have that PhD you really wanted to have in that field that you really love, it's so difficult. But I mean, I know from experience, I've seen other friends being in really difficult relationships with their advisor and really didn't like their job. And in the end, they quit and they found something that was so much better. And sometimes, I mean, they even found another PhD and they
Yeah.
just thrived in it. And like I have one friend in mind, she's been doing so good since she decided to leave that toxic relationship with her advisor behind. And of course, at the moment she was, yeah, this advisor, she really wanted to work with him with them because they were famous, and she was thinking, oh, if I work with them, then my work is going to get valued and I'm going
Yeah.
to be on a really good path to pursue an academic career. But okay, maybe one thing that I learned is your life is more than just your academic career. It's so cool to have an academic career, especially if that's what you want, but you should never get your life hindered by just pursuing that goal. If it brings you, of course, it can be difficult. It's normal to have difficulties during the PhD, especially at the beginning, first postdocs. But if it goes to the point that it affects your health, for instance, that's
Yeah.
also a red flag. Like if you
Yeah.
start having, I have a friend, she always has stomach ache whenever she has to meet with her advisor. That's also a really bad sign. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you should never forget about yourself and your own well-being. That's the most important thing. In the end, you only have one body. You're gonna have several careers, that's not a problem. But
Yeah. I think it's also a trap, this, all or nothing thinking. I need to finish this PhD with this very highly revered professor because I've started this and now I need to finish it, otherwise I blow up my career. This is not true. There's always ways to pivot. The question is really, what do you really want? And typically there's not one way to have a career. It's not like everyone who works with a very famous professor gets a position. And on the other hand, also a lot of people who don't work with a very famous professor get very good positions. Like
Yeah, and
there's no direct
correlation.
consequences from one to the other. So we need to kind of stop having that kind of thinking. It's
And
just biased.
also, I think that this idea of the main goal of my life is to get a position. Well, it's maybe not at all costs. Maybe we should normalize it that, yeah, okay, but not if it makes you feel bad. And
Mm.
it's not because I was often thinking like, oh, maybe it's because, I'm a girl and I'm not strong enough. And this is so bullshit. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't like being sensitive and feeling a lot of things doesn't mean that you cannot be a good researcher. On the opposite, I think that it makes you a good researcher.
That
So we
in
should value this so much more.
that internalized sexism needs to go out
Yeah.
the window,
Yeah.
definitely.
But it's so hard. But you
Yes.
need to talk about it. Like just talk about it with female if you're a female, talk about it with other female researchers. Helps a lot. Also, like if you have a female professor that you really like, go talk about it, about these struggles. For sure she has experienced the same.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Girl power. And there are often, lunches or coffee breaks. There's these things organized at almost every university of women supporting women. So that's also one avenue
Yeah. And even
that
if
people
it's
can
I
go
mean
to.
if it doesn't exist, you can also create it. Like
Yeah, true.
in Belgium
Look,
last yeah.
look at you with your soapbox experience
Yeah,
being like,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
if it doesn't exist,
Try
make it
net
true.
network with other girls. It's so important and it brings so much
Mm,
joy as well.
mm. That's really good. I really like your like secret. Very good. Okay, let's go on to question 5. What's one thing that bothers you about the system and that you want to change?
So, haha, so much to say.
There's a lot. It's
Okay,
not perfect by
I
far.
need to pick one thing.
Yeah.
What's
The
the
thing
worst?
that like that's the first thing, the first point of order for you,
Okay,
basically. Like there
yeah,
are many things, but what's the first point of order?
okay. My biggest problem with the actual state of research and how it's organized is researchers and professors are different jobs. Why are they why are professors forced to be researchers and researchers forced to be professors? For me, this is a nonsense. I think that there are some people that are much better at teaching and some people that are much better and like research. If you like both, then that's amazing, but that's not
The
the
majority.
majority. And I think this is so bad that it's organized in this way. I think it's a hindrance both for research and also for students because they get very bad professors sometimes that are really pissed of being forced to give classes to first year or second year bachelor students. Personally, I like both. I like research and teaching, but I've met so many people who
Who
were
don't?
really good at teaching, like so good, and because they didn't like research, they couldn't stay in the field and they couldn't
Yeah,
become professor. And I think they would have been amazing professors. And then there are often people saying like, yeah, but in order to be a really good professor, you need to be in touch with the research world. Come on, it's not true. If you want to teach classical electrodynamic, you don't need to be in touch with recent research world. That's completely bullshit.
true.
Like,
Like if you want to teach at the advanced masters
yeah,
or PhD level, obviously, but like bachelor level, definitely
yeah,
not.
yeah,
If you have a PhD and you've done your classes, you probably
yeah. And I think
be
we would
eligible.
benefit from having people that are more specialized in teaching and know how to explain things. Like personally, I've had professors that were really awful. They were completely unable to speak their mind and to clarify whatever. And that was the worst. Then you end up having to study on your own all the time. And then what's the point of having lecturers? Like, I
We
don't know.
we have to recognize though that this is mainly the European system that
Ah,
is
yeah.
like this. I think in the US they do have typically different positions, or at least in some
Okay.
universities, they differentiate between
Yeah, that's
teaching
good. Also,
and research.
maybe also in
But
UK, right? Um,
maybe that I would have to check.
I
I'm not
have
sure anymore.
I have a friend that is a teaching
Yeah. Ah, yes,
that
in
has a
Ireland,
teaching position.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
has a
yeah,
teaching
yeah,
position.
yeah, yeah. But the problem in the US is that then the teaching positions are then often very badly paid. It's a bit of a double thing. If one thing is then undervalued, it's going to be underpaid compared to
Mm.
the other thing. So, but what Ireland has maybe is actually a good system and should be looked at by more countries. Yeah, because yeah, from what she said, it seems like a
Mm.
nice kind of in
Well,
between.
I guess that there is no perfect system, but you said that I had to
True.
one thing I want to change, so
True.
there are many.
Okay. So differentiate between research position and teaching position. Maybe allow some people to do both,
Yeah,
but
of
don't
course,
force
if you
anyone to
want
do.
to.
Perfect. We're now at question 6. So what's one person? There could be several people. If there are several people, that's fine. One or a few people that you look up to or are grateful for on your scientific journey.
It came quite late, actually, that I started really being grateful and looking up to people above me. I mean, of course, I was always super amazed by scientists from the past, but it was only always very general and like,
Abstract.
Einstein or Hawking or things like that.
Mm.
But I think that people that were really amazed me the most were women in the field that I was working in before. So there are two that I'm thinking about at the moment. There is Claudia de Ram, who's a
Mhm.
professor in the Imperial College London, and I've met her, and she's so kind and so nice,
She's
and
lovely.
really one of the best person. And she
She's
is
lovely.
really super renowned and really famous for her work, but still so simple about it and still so nice. And there is another woman that worked with her who's named Lavinia Heisenberg. She now works at Heidelberg University, and I also met her when I was visiting Zurich, where she was working with her team there back then. And she's also a super nice person that's really trying to make everyone feel comfortable and is super energetic, has a lot of research ideas, trying to make herself available, even sometimes it's difficult, of course, as a professor to make yourself available for your students. But yeah, these two women, I really when I learned about them and then when I met them, I was really so amazed and so happy to have finally some female role model to look up to. That's also something that I haven't had much in my life. When I was studying in Brussels, we had two female professors out of all the studies I had, and they were one was in particle physics, which I'm not super interested in, but okay, and the other was in astronomy. And this astronomy one, I could talk to her quite a lot, and it was really nice. But I never really could identify because what I wanted to do was not really that.
Mm.
And I found it, like, for instance, in Brussels, in the department where I did my master thesis, there were only male professor, male postdocs. I think now there is one female PhD per her, and it continued like this.
Theoretical physics is
Yeah,
really a bit of a boys' club. It's
yeah,
not
and
like
two women that made it and that own it, and that's so good, and it felt so good to meet them and discuss with them. I really admire them.
Claudia de Ram is really, really inspiring. So she did EPFL. Did you know
Mhm.
that? And
Yeah,
so one time she came
yeah,
back
yeah, she's.
for a all-women panel to
Mhm.
discuss their experiences. And and I was really floored because
Mm.
she did very renowned postdocs all over the place, like published a lot of very well
Yeah, yeah, she's really
revered
super
papers.
top. Yeah,
And
she's
she
a
had I don't
scientist.
know how many kids.
Yeah, I think she's
Like
three
she
kids
just
also.
made it work. And you're looking at that and you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to compare yourself, of course, right? It's not
No,
because like everyone is doing what they can, but she's
no, but
really
it's very
inspiring.
inspiring. even if sometimes it does feel a bit out of reach, having those examples, then it's a reminder. I maybe can't have everything, but I can't have a lot. And I just need to have the idea that I will make it work. It's a positive example that it kind
Yeah.
of drives your own ambition. And discussing with her afterwards, because there was a mingle part, it was just lovely. And afterwards, she even participated in an interview that I did for one of the PhD positions, not for her group, but another group, and she was in the interview. And I probably got the interview partially because we had met and exchanged names at that time. So I'm also very grateful for them. I think she's a very great person.
And it's
Okay.
also nice to see that sometimes there are nice people that make it, because sometimes it feels like the only people that make it are really awful human beings, and it's not true.
And one of your friends is going to work with
Yeah,
her very soon,
yeah,
or did she start already?
yeah. She started like
Yeah,
last
so
week.
that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so excited for her.
Okay, let's move on to the last question. What are your predictions about the future of research in the next 10 years?
This one is a hard one.
It is. It is.
I cannot say that I really have predictions, but I have hopes, let's say.
Mhm.
I have the hope that maybe it's a bit naive and foolish, but that policymaking people will realize that it's stupid not to invest in research. Because at the moment we are seeing globally reducing of fundings and
Yeah.
yeah, budget cuts and stuff like that. It's not on like I mean everyone talks about the US, but it's not only in the US. In Belgium we feel it as well. I think probably in other European countries as well.
Yeah,
And
we also have bad news on the
yeah,
SNSF side, also in Switzerland.
so I just hope that we are gonna be able as scientists to convene our message that what we're doing is important, that it might not bring immediate economic value, but it is what makes the society thrive on the long term. I'm really convinced of that. That's why I'm doing research. I'm really convinced that what we are doing is for everyone's good. Maybe not my particular work, but the work in general that we are doing. So, yeah, I hope it's more hope than prediction, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
But
you're putting it out into the universe, being like, I want this to happen. Let's make it happen.
yeah, and I wish yeah, I'm trying to like this is also part of the outreach, I think, making
Yeah.
the general public more aware of what scientists are doing is also participating in this endeavor of making the public realize that it is useful, that we are not just some crazy people in a lab doing crazy stuff that are completely useless. It's not true. We need research. I'm 100% sure of that. My first hope is that, and then my second hope is that research becomes so much more inclusive, that
Mhm.
we create research places and research spaces that are inclusive for everyone and that everyone feels comfortable in, be it neuroatypy or disability or just minorities, everything. Like there's been already studies showing that inclusivity improves the quality of work. And I think it's just because it improves the quality of life. And when you're in a good environment, you do a better job, that's for sure. But
Typically, when you make things easy for one group, it makes things easy for everyone. Like there are a lot of adaptations, for example, for neurodivergent people that are just good for every single
yeah,
person in the office, right? I completely agree. And I'm really also behind both of your hopes. I know you're taking action more on the communication of the science front, and I'm
yeah.
personally taking action a lot on the diversity and inclusion
Yeah,
front as well with
we're
the
doing
workshops. So,
complementary work. That's good.
exactly. Like,
Everyone needs to work to fight on their own fronts.
exactly. Do you
Yeah.
want to talk a bit more about what you do with Soapbox? Because some people might
Oh,
find
yeah.
it interesting as well.
Yeah. So I'm part of Soapbox Science now for, I don't know, 3, 4 years. I don't remember. I started in Berlin, so it's an initiative that started in London, and now they have small organization everywhere around the world. So I was in the Berlin one when I was doing my PhD. And basically, what we do is we bring female scientists to the streets so that they can talk to the public in the streets directly. It's kind of a small initiative in the sense that our events are not huge and we don't have that much fundings and stuff. So it's really just trying to bring local scientists out of their office and put them on the street and have them have them talk with passerbys. And I really enjoy it. Like sometimes it's a bit of hassle, of course, because it's an organization and you have to deal with all the administrative stuff behind. But when it's the day of the event, I'm always so happy and grateful and seeing the impact. And I think it's both interesting for the public. People are really interested. They actually want to know what is going on and what science is being done in the end with their money, because it's often public money.
Hmm.
And at the same time, you can see that a lot of scientists love to tell about their work, and also it's so rewarding to see that people look up at you and think, wow, it's so cool what she's doing. It gives you a lot of like it can give you a lot of self-confidence. So I'm really happy. I hope that I will continue working for that volunteer organization for some time. And yeah, you can follow us on our social media.
Yes,
If you can put
yes,
them.
yes. I will leave it in the
Well,
description
now I'm
of the
working in
interview.
the Brussels one, so it's Soapbox
Yeah.
Science Brussels. But yeah, there are anywhere you're living, there's probably a Soapbox Science. And if there isn't, then you just can create one. That's the nice thing about you.
Yes, you can have a branch just for you.
Yeah, yeah. You just can email the organizers in London and they will help you. They will provide some tips and also administrative help on where to look for fundings and how to organize.
That's
So
really
yeah,
cool. Do you have a next event already planned for anyone in
we
Brussels?
just did one yesterday. So
Okay, so you don't have a date yet. So follow
no,
everyone, follow for more information on Soapbox Science Brussels.
I think next time will be in 2026. So we
Yeah,
have some time to
makes sense.
recover because we had a very busy summer. But yeah, it's gonna be 2026, and I think this year we'll have two events, so it's gonna be really cool.
Ooh,
Yeah, we get to
looking forward to
play
it.
from university, so it's so cool. We get a bit of recognition. So nice. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm really happy that it's developing also and that you have now a nice team also. That's really cool. Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you for joining me today. That was really, really nice having this interview. First interview with you, one of my best physics friends.
Thanks for inviting. It was so cool to chat.
Yes. Thank you very much to everyone for joining and listening to this whole interview. I have no idea who is joining me next week yet, but probably another one of my friends. And hopefully, we will get to discussing many other topics. If you like these kind of interviews, please come back every Monday for one of these chatty sessions.
Subscribe.
Follow and everything. Thank you very much for joining. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye bye.